All right, so let's go back to an old-fashioned video that I've been making on the internet for 2 decades. Dystopian entertainment is a type of speculative fiction that imagines a frightening vision of the future in decline. We're there. We've been in dystopian society for a long time. Except we're not supposed to see it that way. We're supposed to, just like in 1984, accept the government's announcements that the stock market is doing great, house prices are amazing, young people are getting jobs in the trades, and with ASU having 41,000 new students a mile from my house right now, it does feel like society is trying to normalize itself this many years after the pandemic. But I assure you, it's just smoke and mirrors. They want people to accept this reality as being normal. They want you to look the other way and not see the enormous problems we have with the homeless, with ordinary people who can't afford to pay their bills. I mean, that's why I'm making this video right now. This is a source of income for me. And I am not going to stop being bitter about being demonetized because it took me a long time to get monetized. And again, part of the dystopian hellscape where you can have your channel taken away for no good reason other than they don't like what you're saying. But I'm here to tell you that it's going to happen and it's going to get much worse. And it already has. Like, they've set up the conditions in which it can get much worse out there already. And they know that people won't fight back. And I have current conditions for dystopian entertainment and future conditions for dystopian entertainment. So in current conditions, if you're a person that has two eyes that work and a brain that doesn't have you hearing voices all day, possibly like some of my fellow man that's just outside my window right now, who I saw a woman talking to a stop sign yesterday. But unless you're that person, you can open up a web browser right now and go over to our favorite website, Indeed, and look for a worthless job. There's tons of them. Everyone that offers a useless job where you're humiliated all day by wearing a uniform and a name tag, they're always hiring. And when I worked at Walmart, they were always hiring. In fact, I would say nearly every day someone would stop by and ask, "Hey, can I get a job?" And all they'd tell you, like every other place, is submit an application. What were applications? They were just a database to see, who was out there, who was desperate enough to take a humiliating job. And then once someone quit or you fired someone, you'd go in the database, look up the best loser, and call them up and see if they were truly desperate. Because that's what all it was. At all my desperation level jobs, that's all it was. Take applications, and then once you need someone, dig through the trash and then call them up. In our current conditions, we also have phony jobs reports. Last couple of days, they showed that the so-called job numbers that they put out about job creation were grossly inflated. I'll tell you, if they have to keep lying to us about the jobs, the unemployment rate, what's out there, just to keep people from not realizing how screwed they are, then it's a form of control. Because we all know why we go to work. I mean, I have to be at work. I have to leave for work in less than an hour. I only go there because I need food and I need rent. That's the only reason that I go to work. Happy proles don't go to work. It's miserable people that go to work because they know that they've been working for a while and their conditions haven't changed. My current Gen Z is the poster child for this channel. On the verge of homelessness, family won't help him, and he's never earned more than a couple dollars over the minimum wage. And he's, I believe, the last year of what I would call Gen Z, maybe a first year millennial. but never. And you kind of look at him, overweight, short, dark. I would call him a an intelligent person, but there's a type of intelligence. There's functional intelligence, and then there's non-functional intelligence. And he crosses the line into non-functional intelligence. And unfortunately, that is a place where you can end up, especially for us educated parts of the proletariat, is that you can easily slip into a level of intelligence where you're not functional in the workplace. And as a person who's worked in technology, I've seen this personality throughout my entire career in technology. Is that you have these people that can't fit into society. They're extremely intelligent people. Facts, numbers, they can do it all. But when it comes down to doing an ordinary job, it's a dystopian world to them. They don't fit in. That's why they're single, or they're on the verge of losing everything, and they simply can't function in this world. Most of them will be lifelong single. Their family has disowned them. They're not likable people. And sadly, regardless of all their flaws, they still need money. But the world is even more dystopian for this personality type because they don't fit in. And it's on the other side of that spectrum. If you're an extremely low functioning, unintelligent person, you might be able to take a job where you don't have to think too much. I met a lot of those people at Kroger's that still work there. There's about a dozen people that still work there when I worked there in 2008 because they fall into that category. They have just enough intelligence to remember to go to work every day, but that's it. They keep their jobs just because they know that they have to go to work. Their lives aren't good. Any person who's stuck in retail, your life isn't good. In fact, it's probably pretty bad, but you lack the intelligence to understand that how bad the conditions are for you. And that's where I don't understand those people. I have no idea where I fall on this spectrum. I used to think that I was a somewhat smart person, and then reality slapped me in the face and told me if I was smart, then I would have been able to figure out how to get out of the wage cage. But I haven't, like most of us. Once one of us finds the golden key to get out of the wage cage, we're all out. Or maybe they'll open that door and we won't know that it's open. I mean, the sheep will sometimes behave in very strange ways. Now, moving to the second part of this video. Future conditions for dystopian world. Not too far away, education will be pointless. There will be so many people around us that went to college that I would say even in the last 20 years, that the first 4 years of college are just an extension of high school. And that's why the 4 year degree isn't paying more money because it's not that much to your employer. You went to college, you didn't go to an Ivy League school, high school plus. And so, what that's going to mean is that if the people who are going to school can't generate middle class incomes, and the people who don't go to college are in the same boat, we're going to see more homeless millennials because as their boomer parents, kick the bucket, they're not going to have anyone to support them. And therefore, they're going to have to go into a very bad job market that doesn't have enough good jobs for even, I would say, 2 to 3% of the entire population. Meaning there will be more homelessness. If you think that places like Seattle, Portland, and LA are bad, imagine that kind of filth, that kind of the homeless disease spreading across the country to every single state in the nation. because there simply isn't enough good jobs to keep people off the street. That, if you don't believe that, just drive into one of those major cities in America and look around at hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people living inside of trashed cars on the side of the road. They don't have anywhere to go. They're not looking for jobs. They're figuring out how they're going to make it to the next day. And it doesn't get much more dystopian than that. What I see also with my new employee is a person who's reached a certain age, who is unable to escape the trap of $15 to $20 an hour. No matter what he's done in his life, despite his awkward personality and quirky attitude and often unusual humor, he's not been able to progress his life to where he should be at his age. He should be a person that's getting close to home ownership. But this is a person who's had to live in such crummy places one after another. He's moved all over the country already. He's started out in the East Coast, moved to the Midwest, moved out to the West Coast, and then swung back around and can't establish himself anywhere. No matter where he goes, he's making a couple dollars above the minimum wage. And why did I put this in the future? Because this is where these new college grads are going to end up, unable to escape. Because there's one industry that loves college students that just graduated from college: sales. If you go on the ASU website and you look at what jobs are available, they're all sales jobs. They want people working telephones, and unfortunately, Gen Z doesn't like talking on the phone. I don't like talking on the phone. If I didn't have to talk on the phone for work, I wouldn't. But unfortunately, it's a major part of my job is to be able to communicate with all 25 offices for this corporation. Now, being a corporate person myself, there are certain advantages to just working in an office as opposed to managing all of them. But that bracket, and again, I have my own testimony. I have the evidence that I need sitting next to me all day of a person that can't break out. And that shows me if this person, with all of that extra intelligence, can't find the way out, what does a person of average intelligence have to look forward to? Nothing. So, future conditions include more and more people who don't want to go into debt for their education. They don't have a significant other. They're not looking to elevate themselves out of the current job bracket that they're in because they can't. They know that they didn't want the overpriced education because they see people who are educated not getting ahead. Women don't want to date these losers because, let's face it, most women get into relationships for the financial support because it's much nicer to have someone whose pockets you can reach into rather than reaching into your own and realizing that they're empty. And I'm not saying that that's all women, but a piece of advice that my last psychology teacher gave the class was, don't marry for love. Don't do it. When you marry or you get into a relationship with another person, make sure that this one qualification is met. She can support you and you can support her if one of you gets sick. That is about as dystopian as love gets, because you remove the romantic aspect of it. You're looking for a financial partner. And let's face it, right now we all need a financial partner. We need someone to share our bills with. When rent is out of control, when food prices are out of control, when everything is unrealistic, this has become a two-income world. And I'm not talking about two people working at Burger King. I'm talking about two people making $100,000 a year. That's the kind of people I'm talking about. That's where you want to be. You want home ownership, and it may sound like a lot of money, but any chart on the cost of living in America is clearly going to show that the dual good income is the only way people are making it, not struggling like I am constantly to figure out how am I going to make it to my next paycheck. Right now, I have less than $100 in my bank account, and it's humiliating to work this hard to have nothing. And the same person, my new employee, said to me last week, I haven't saved anything for retirement. And I told him, same here. My retirement is the Pine Box community that gets a great view of the suns 6 feet below ground. That's the retirement I'm looking forward to. Just the end. And so in Toxic Positivity today, I put my favorite books came true. As a child, I don't know why I gravitated to these two books as my favorite books of all time. The first time I read 1984, I was convinced that Winston was some sort of degenerate. When I read Brave New World, I thought, you know what? Maybe the alphas are overrated. Maybe the alphas shouldn't be alphas because let's just face it, they're a bunch of a-holes, grade A-holes. But when it came down to it, 1984 represented the perfect conditions for the domesticated proletariat. Regardless of what they see, they envision the world that they see through the lens of Big Brother telling them how conditions are, which is exactly how our world looks right now. They tell us what the jobs reports look like. They tell us education is great. They tell us the economy is booming. But they're telling us doesn't make it true. Meaning, we've been domesticated. No one's rising up against an unfair system where only a few people pull the strings and we all suffer. In Brave New World, I was introduced, and this is a time where I couldn't even consume anything. Soma to keep the basement dwellers in check. Everyone has something. Every single person I know has their soma. Because it's where you go at night after work that makes you feel good enough to get up the next day to go get some soma. Because I'll tell you, at the end of the day, if I don't get my soma, what would be the point? If I don't get to enjoy at least a couple of hours by myself enjoying my soma, what would be the point? If you can't be artificially happy for at least a small portion of your day, where you don't have to think about the soul crushing evil corp that's going to turn you into a ball of stress the next day, you need your soma. And that's where Brave New World got it right. We're all on soma, and there's no escaping it. Our loneliness, our sadness, our anxiety, our vision of the future all looks bleak. But as long as we have our soma, we're going to be okay in the short term.